This tutorial will illustrate how to create a new part profile using the Bump Taper Tube Profile software option. First, create the new measurements that you would like to be activated for designated portions of your new part profile. You will need at least one new measurement for each of your profile segments. First, open Full Configuration by pressing TotalVu on the main application window and selecting Full Configuration. Then open Measurements. Execute Add Scanner Measurement. Select your scanner and click Add. Then click Next. Select the measurement types you would like to have active for the first segment by clicking on them and then clicking Add. Then click Next. Under Measurement Mode, select the radio button next to Part, Automatic. Then check the box next to Reset before next part, and then click Next. To average by distance or scans, select Distance or Scans, and then type in the respective averaging period. I recommend an average equal to the number of scanning facets particular to your gauge. The T-Laser 330 in use now has 6. If you would like TotalVu to recalculate the measurement value every time it receives a new scan, check the box next to Use Running Average. Then click Next twice. Select an appropriate resolution for your application, and then click Next twice. Check the box next to your preferred SBC plan. Then click Next. I recommend naming these new measurements using a sequential numerical or alphabetical designation. All of these measurements are for the first segment, so I am including a 1 in each of the measurement names. Then click Finish. If you would like to capture the taper transitions, you will need another measurement defined for each taper desired. Execute Add Scanner Measurement, then select your scanner and click Add. Then click Next. Click on Show Advanced Types and choose Taper at the bottom of the list. Then click Next. Set the measurement mode to Part Automatic and choose Reset before next part, and click Next. To be useful, this measurement will require some degree of averaging. To average by distance or scans, select Distance or Scans, and then enter the respective averaging period. To average the entire taper, select By Part. Then click Next twice. Select an appropriate resolution for your application. Then click Next twice. Check the box next to your preferred SBC plan. Then click Next. I am naming using a sequential numerical designation. Therefore, for my first taper, I'm using the number 1. Then click Finish. Repeat these steps until each of the segments in your new part profile have their own measurements. My profile has 5 segments, 3 constant OD and 2 tapers. These measurements are for my first constant OD segment, these for my second, these for my third. At the end of the list, here's the measurement for my first taper, and here's the measurement for my second taper. Finally, create a measurement valid for the entire part profile. This will be used for display purposes. Execute Add Scanner Measurement, select your scanner and click Add. Then click Next. Select the measurement or measurements that you would like to have valid for this entire part profile. I recommend Average. Select the measurement and then click Add. Then click Next. Under Measurement Mode, select the radio button next to Continuous. Then click Next. To average by distance or scans, select Distance or Scans and type in the respective averaging period. As described before, use running average as desired. Then click Next twice. Select an appropriate resolution for your application. Then click Next twice. Check the box next to your preferred SBC plan. Then click Next. Name your reference measurement. Then click Finish. With the measurements in place, they need to be grouped by segment. Exit the Measurements window and enter Part Profile. Execute Add Part Profile. If you have more than one scanner defined, this screen will first come up showing a scanner selection. If you only have one scanner, this screen will appear. Under Measurement Mode, select Continuous. This will give us better control over when the next part profile will start by tying it to an action. Then click Next, and then Add Segment. If you would like the ability to change your segment length via recipe, do not type anything into the top two blanks. Skip down to the Measurements section and select which measurements you want active for your first segment. Then press OK. Repeat this measurement selection sequentially until each desired segment has at least one measurement defined. To review, for my particular application, I have 3 constant diameter segments and 2 tapers. When complete, press Next. While naming this part profile, keep in mind this profile selection will always have the same number and order of segments and should be named accordingly. I like to differentiate between profiles by how many tapers are included. When complete, click Finish. Create a new part profile anytime you need a new sequence or number of segments. With a basic part profile in place, a recipe is required to add specifications to the profile. Exit Part Profiles and enter Recipes. Execute Add Recipe/Template. Make a selection between absolute and relative limits. This selection can be changed later if desired. Today I will use absolute. Then click Continue. Enter a name for your new recipe. This will likely be the name of the part as designated on the engineering drawing. Then click Next. Click Add Specification and name your first segment. My profile starts with a constant OD segment, so I will name it Dia 1. Enter the specification limits valid for the segment. Finally, select all the measurements in this segment to which these spec limits are valid by clicking on the measurement and then clicking Add. Remember, I named all the measurements valid for the first segment, starting with the number 1. Then click OK. There is no limitation to how many specification limits apply to one segment. After you are done with the first segment, continue to the second segment by clicking Add Specification. This next segment in my profile is a taper, so I will name it accordingly. When entering the specification limits for your taper, remember to convert any angles to mathematical slope, rise over run, by taking the tangent trigonometric function of your angle. If your part is angled on top and bottom where you will be taking your measurement, remember to double your angle first. The upper spec limit for a negative slope is still found by adding a positive tolerance to the slope, resulting in a smaller negative number. Select your taper measurement valid for this segment from the list by clicking on it and then clicking Add. Then click OK. Continue adding diameter and slope specification limits until you have completed your entire profile. Then move to the bottom of the list and click Part Profile Settings, followed by Add Part Profile. Select one part profile from the list and click OK. Click Edit Segment and enter the encoder values between which you want this first segment active. If your next part will be triggered by an action, these lengths will be relative to the encoder value at the time of action execution. Then click OK, click the next segment, and click Edit Segment. I recommend leaving 0.01 inches between the end length of one segment and the start length of the next unassigned to ensure each segment collects only their appropriate measurements. Then click OK. Select each segment in sequence and enter their respective encoder lengths. If you wish to delay the start of each part profile following the start trigger, enter that distance under the Properties tab. Then click OK. Then click Finish. Two displays essential to part profiles are a profile chart and an SPC window. To make the chart, exit out of Recipe Configuration and TotalVu Configure. On the main application window, select the Window menu and select New Window. Select the radio button to the left of Part Profile Chart and then click Next. At the top, enter a name for your chart and then select the scanner in use. Click the next tab at the top entitled Measurement and select your reference measurement created earlier valid for the entire part profile. If you would like past part scans to remain displayed, enter a number greater than 1 under Part Count. Click the next tab at the top entitled Axes. Round your part profile length up to the next whole number and enter beneath the X-axis scale. Under the Y-axis scale, select the radio button to the left of specification limits and give 10% padding by clicking the up arrow twice. Underneath the line plotted point type, I recommend thin. Click the last tab at the top entitled Refresh and enter 0.1 seconds. Then press OK. Move and resize your window as needed. To create your SPC window, open the Window menu on the main application window and click New Window. Click the radio button to the left of SPC data, then click Next. Check the box to the left of all measurements you would like to have displayed. Then click Next. Select at least one field out of the list below. I recommend taking the default selection by clicking Select Default Fields. You can then alter this selection as needed. Then click Next. Select the radio button next to your desired orientation. I recommend by column. Check the box to the left of Show Labels. Then click Next twice. Rearrange your display to put your segments in order by clicking on the measurement and then clicking Move Up or Move Down as needed. Then click Next. Give your window a title and then click Finish. Move as needed. Finally, we need actions to control the start of the profile. Open Full Configuration by pressing TotalVu on the main application window and selecting Full Configuration. Enter the Actions window and execute Add Action. Click the down arrow to the right of New Action and type the letter P on the keyboard to bring us down to the section that we desire. Ensure that Part Profile Next Part is highlighted and that you have an appropriate action name. Then click on the Scanner tab. Select your scanner and click OK. This action will trigger a new part profile to start and enable the measurements that are valid for the first segment. Because the part profile chart is also a multi-part chart, we need an action to tell the chart when to graph the next part. Execute Add Action, click the down arrow to the right of New Action, browse for Multi-Part Chart Profile Next Part, and type in an appropriate action name. Next, click the Trend Charts tab and select your created trend chart. Then click Add. Then click OK. These two actions need to be combined into a macro to be executed at the start of each profile. Execute Add Action, click the down arrow next to New Action, and select Action Macro Execute List of Actions. Ensure that you have an appropriate action name, and then click the Actions tab. Find the two actions we just created and add them to the list. To do this, click the action and then click Add. Then press OK. Assign this macro to trigger at the start of each part. In this particular setup, I will place it underneath the Start button. I do this by editing the Start button macro, clicking on the Actions tab, selecting our new macro, and clicking Add, then pressing OK. If you want to make use of your SPC plan, create actions to start and stop SPC data collection. Execute Add Action one more time, browse for SPC Stop, ensure that you have an appropriate action name, check the box next to Act on all SPC plans, and press OK. Ensure you have an appropriate action name for the Start SPC action, and click Create Counterpart. Execute your SPC Start action when you would like to begin data collection for your SPC plan, and the SPC Stop action when you would like to stop it. For this application, I will start the data collection using the Start button. To do this, I will edit the Start button macro, select the SPC Start action, and press Add, and press OK. I want to stop the data collection when the profile view linear reaches stop C. To do this, I will add to the PVL at position C action macro. To do this, I will edit the PVL at position C macro and select SPC Stop and press Add, and then OK. Exit the configuration and test out your new part profile. First, ensure that the correct recipe is loaded by clicking TotalVu on the main application window and selecting Recipes. Select your recipe and then click Load. For this setup, I click the Start button to begin. Notice, if working correctly, each segment will be activated sequentially, while saving each measurement to the respective SPC plan. Thank you for watching. This has been Tutorials by Joel.